I believe the coronavirus is helping to trigger a mass awakening. What's happening is the consciousness of humanity is increasing or expanding. Our awareness is expanding as we spend time in our homes, in solitude, not caught in the rat race that is life for most of us.
Welcome to The Future Is Now Digest. This is a blog about the current happenings in these turbulent times. I'm Miguel Francis-Santiago, and well, today it's the beginning of a new week. We've sorta been okay following the economical events of last week. The S&P 500 finished at minus 22%, while Bitcoin was up around 20%. And that tells you something about the disruptive industry and the Bitcoin currency as it's holding steady during this crash flight of the world. Today we're going to discuss the lessons that China has learned from this, and perhaps the good and the bad. The good for the government, perhaps good for the people in some way, but the lesson also enabled China to have a lot more tentacles in the control of their population. And this is something that is of a concern to me personally, as I see armies entering major states of America. And this is sort of alarming because it is, of course, to protect us, but at the same time, for the first time, after so many people, from the conspirators to political analysts on CNN, have talked about martial law at 9/11, martial law, as this, as that. And finally, in 2020, we have martial law. Is this good? Is this bad? Well, only the future will tell. From the latest news, Chancellor Angela Merkel is in quarantine after contact with a doctor who tested positive for coronavirus. A regular treatment that she's been getting from the doctor, he came in, administered the shot, and the next day he tested positive for corona, adding to the never-ending list, it seems, of politicians and celebrities that have contracted the virus. Today we're joined by Brock Pierce, our brother from the decentralized nomad space, a philanthropist, chairman of the Bitcoin Foundation, the man behind Restart Week, and so many things in the disruptive industry. Brock, can you hear us? How are you?
I hear you. I'm isolated, socially distanced, and feeling good and healthy here in beautiful Puerto Rico.
Awesome. We're also in the Caribbean, so hello from the Caribbean. We're waiting this out as well. Brock, and I'd like to entertain you with this question, this theory, I should say, that we were able to find. What is common between the coronavirus and Bitcoin? Both of these phenomena arose for unknown reasons, from an incomprehensible place, and were created by an unknown entity. In general, a lot of mysteries surrounding these two things. Consider two main theories. The accident is that both of them arose unintentionally, by itself. And then there is the planned theory. This is when some people, following a malicious plan, specially and prior by conspiracy, created the tools to influence global processes. Well, the official legend for the coronavirus is that it arose spontaneously, by random mutation in the bat's body from a random meal, and then transmitted to the person who ate the mouse. But wait a second. But the virus dies at 40 degrees. So if a person eats a bat and he pre-cooks it, and then, the Chinese do not eat them raw, then nothing should have happened, right? Well, let's say the mouse sneezed on the person. Well, suppose that's so. And the WHO declared a pandemic. And tens of thousands became infected ever since. And thousands have died. And the WHO says that at least 6 million people will die. This is very scary and inhumane. But again, the goal has not yet been achieved. The conspiracy theory behind coronavirus is that the US military brought the coronavirus to Wuhan on the eve of the pandemic, which was announced and confirmed by a representative of the Chinese Foreign Ministry. Then there's another version according to which the virus was created at a Parisian institute, and there's a vaccine. And supposedly Trump offered $1 billion for that. So according to this theory, globalists want to destroy 1 to 2 billion of the world's population and unleash a war and solve the main problem, which is the creation of the new world order, a world government. And that goal also has not yet been achieved. So I guess the question here is, how valid are some of these theories, and what's the similarity between, let's just say, both mysterious phenomena, which is Bitcoin and coronavirus?
The question is the connection or common thread between the coronavirus and Bitcoin. Well, I think, as you stated, in both instances, it's unclear where they came from. So I think that is one common trait they share. The big difference between them is one is here to hopefully liberate and bring freedom to the people of the world. The other is a virus and bringing harm to the people of the world. The primary impact of the coronavirus right now is actually not the direct health implications. It's probably to a larger degree the indirect health implications. The financial health of the people, the financial health being that people, if you're in the service industry, not able to go to work, not able to collect income, people being confined to their homes, people, having to struggle, and all the things, sort of related to that. And then the economic fallout and the economic impact of the coronavirus is certainly accelerating, call it a global financial calamity. It's certainly contributing to a potential future financial collapse. And so, I'd say that's probably the biggest common thread between the two, is that coronavirus is causing massive, unprecedented financial damage to the global economy in such a way that governments are having to step in and write massive checks. The Federal Reserve has dropped interest rates to 0 to 25 basis points, $1.5 trillion injections, et cetera, plus, the world over, from governments that are already overextended. I mean, the Federal Reserve has essentially just done everything it can. There's not really much more they can do, and we're going to see how much the world's governments can actually do to mitigate this damage. I hope they succeed, personally, because I want the people of the world to do well. I want people to feel good. I want people to be happy and healthy and living in a world of abundance. Now, the reality is that that's not the case today. Things are scary. I'm here in Puerto Rico. We've been on essentially in something similar to martial law for now 7 days. This is the end of the first week, where we have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. If you're caught outside, you get arrested, and you face up to 6 months in jail, plus a $5,000 fine. They're looking to increase those numbers. I think there's 70 people in jail right now. At least as of 2 days ago, those numbers are probably higher at this point. And so we were the first state or territory in the U.S. to be put onto a forced quarantine. That's obviously happening throughout the rest of the country. California now, most of the world is going through this. And that's because we've seen in places like Italy and places like China and places like Singapore that social distancing is proving to be the most effective mechanism to fight the spread of this virus. It's got a very high K factor. It is a sleeper. Once you're infected, you don't know, and you're contagious for a fairly long period of time. And so the big thing you can do to mitigate the spread of this virus is to avoid spreading it, which means not going around other people. And the data that we have right now does look like it's vulnerable to heat, similar to other influenzas. And that is that you have flu season. And so as the sun rises, as the days get longer, we just came through the spring equinox, which is the time where essentially we have equal day and night. Now the sunlight or the day is longer than the night in the northern hemisphere, and hopefully the sun brings about the end of this virus, at least through the rest of the spring and summer until the fall. In October, it would come back again, but at least by then we'll have had plenty of time to prepare for this new strain of coronavirus.
And this is an interesting array of facts that I found that China was basically able to showcase to the world as they are right now, pretty much have the situation under control as far as COVID-19. So the first thing, China has effectively prepared for a war of a new age, the bio war. They have completed training and have showed the whole world a masterclass and the ineffectiveness of any sort of bio warfare against China. Number two, they have completed a complete accounting of the population, basically getting into contact with almost every citizen. They did it quick and they did it quite effectively. Number three is they have hardened the digital dictatorship, the control of social networks and all the communication. Number four is they have created a system of quick determining of all the social contacts of a desired individual, right? Who has he contacted, with whom he rode a train cart, where he was, and who did he communicate with. Number five is they have basically determined all the illegal citizens that have been staying in China illegally, and they have extradited quite a few of them from the country. Number six, in a soft regime, they again put a lot of international people that were there officially also out of the country. Really those people wanted to escape, but a lot of others have been identified and basically taken under control or observation. Number seven is they really have worked a mechanism of a massive and quick blockage of the whole country. They showed the whole world what China can do. They can quarantine 1.5 billion people in a fairly short amount of time, get everybody masked up, and that's powerful. They also were able to build a mega hospital within a week. And number nine, they have taught the whole country how to improve their hygiene. And there's about 7 more of these very interesting factors from generally, just in short, they've stopped the protests in Hong Kong. They have massively and effectively created a system of automated delivery of goods and foods and services. They upgraded the algorithms of their AI systems and video surveillance in order to decipher people in masks, etc. As far as police, they have again improved the speed of massive reaction time using drones and other services of surveillance. So really, China, kind of forcefully, I guess, upgraded themselves to a new level of I don't know what you would call it, governance. What do you think of this?
What do I think of it?
Well, what's your take on some of these facts as far as China using this to improve their government and improve their really control of the people?
Well, I mean, governments in general are generally going to take a crisis and like lemons, make lemonade. Use it as an opportunity to further their objectives, and that's not just going to be in China. That's going to be in a number of places. But again, there's good and bad in everything, right? There's two sides to that sword. China demonstrated that they were able to get the coronavirus under control, and they did it swiftly at a time where it presented very real and serious challenges to China. And so, good for them on nipping it in the bud. Now, in terms of civil rights and other things, yeah, I mean, there's, I don't necessarily agree with much of what China does. I'm a big believer in, call it freedom, but, in a nation with 3 billion people, I'm not going to begin to tell people what they should do and how they should live their lives. I'm going to live my life and practice what I preach. And, my philosophies are a little different than most. And I don't want to overly opine on the things that China is doing. They successfully addressed the coronavirus. I'm not a big fan of a surveillance state, though we already live in one. It's not just China. I mean, the whole world is.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's what I wanted to get at. What other governments, including EU and us, here in the U.S., could we use or, pick up on the panic expands the situation a little beyond normal to get that panic? And then, we're having essentially martial law starting Monday in most of the country. More services created to surveil, to know where we've been, what we've done, etc. Could this be something that perhaps our government might also be extracting from this?
Well, again, it's a complicated situation, right? You've got a virus in place, and do you let it spread and let everyone catch it, or do you attempt to address it? The data that we have suggests that people being isolated and socially distancing themselves is the most effective mechanism we have to reduce the spread of the virus. That's, I think, a fact at this point. And so, that's one path we can go down. The other path is what the UK was doing, and now they changed their position, realizing that perhaps what they were doing was wrong. Or at least they changed their strategy, which was let everyone catch it, and let the strong survive. It's a complicated and a very difficult situation. You don't want to be in a position of government leadership during times like these. You're faced with very difficult decisions, and there's not really a right answer. Now, I pray that our civil liberties are not permanently negatively impacted as a result of this, and that's really going to, for those of us in the U.S. I mean, this is on a geography by geography basis. It's what we do. This is an election year for America, and get out and rock the vote.
Another weird thing is that a serious respiratory illness kind of seems to happen every election. If you look back on the last, at least 4 elections, it's been that way. Some kind of a major crisis always occurs around this time. Again, I'm just connecting the dots.
And I like to point out the silver lining. I'm an eternal optimist. I'm a positive person, though I do hope for the best, pray for the best. I also plan for the worst. I do like to point out the good that can come of this. All of these sort of big events in the world do have silver linings, and good things do come of it. And the main thing that I'd like to point out is that I believe the coronavirus is helping to trigger a mass awakening. What's happening is the consciousness of humanity is increasing or expanding. Our awareness is expanding as we spend time in our homes, in solitude, not caught in the rat race that is life for most of us. We are being given time to contemplate. We are becoming aware of how much toilet paper we use. But the food we consume, hopefully if you're at home, you are conscious of the food you're consuming, like finish your plate, 0 waste. Don't be throwing things away. And hopefully as a result of this, we are becoming more conscious of the things that we do, the things that we consume, and hopefully are not being overcome by fear. The silver lining in this is humanity is waking up as a result of the increased awareness that this virus is driving. And do not let the fear consume you. Instead say, how do I finish my plate? How do I not take more than I need? How do I create minimal waste? How do I be just a more conscious consumer? Conscious of the things that I consume, and be grateful for the things that I have, not to take everything for granted, not to be entitled, and to realize that everything that we have is a blessing.
And Brock, that is a great point. I completely agree that I think the Gaia, the Earth, is getting such a recharge right now as, you know, the canals in Venice, Italy become clean for the first time as...
Have you seen dolphins are swimming in the Venice canals for the first time in ages because the canals are clean enough that Mama Gaia, nature, and the animals are moving back in.
Right.
How quickly she can clean the earth. And that's one of the things we're seeing. Carbon emissions in China. I mean, the prices of gas are, prices of oil per barrel are dropping. And so the profitability for fracking and all of the things are dropping radically, and oil production is likely going to slow down. Hopefully, as a result of this, we see a mass acceleration to clean energy. One of the things I'm assuming we're all thinking about right now, if you don't already have it, is energy sort of being net zero, being off-grid, having your own energy resiliency. Like, this is that time where you're like, wow, I wish I had solar panels. I wish that I was plugged in to my own system. The next time something like this happens, I hope that I am energy resilient. I hope that I am self-sustainable. I hope that I am off-grid. I hope that I am net zero and am able to provide power to myself. And so hopefully this accelerates the adoption of clean energy, at a faster pace than it would be already. In places like China and otherwise, you're seeing carbon emissions drop in a way that, we haven't seen in a long time. So there are good things coming out of this. And the thing that I recommend, so not to be overcome by fear, is to always look for the positive, find the light in everything. And there are beautiful things happening in the world as we are responding to, this global pandemic.
Great points all across, Brock. And in that case, let's continue on the positive note before we get back to some of the thinking behind this again. But as far as the outcomes, the positive outcomes, what do you think are some of the changes that are coming, of course, to the industries, and what are some of the industries that are that will need to sort of be established to drive us forward? Let's concentrate on the virtual, of course. It seems that e-entertainment, e-sports, even iGaming transforming or picking up as people are staying home to shop, to do their to do everything from the screen of their computer. And as far as the disruptive and the blockchain space, it seems that people can now sort of stop traveling and really concentrate on actually creating the product, because before we just had a conference every other day, and people put all their energy into that instead of their products. And maybe that's one of the reasons why we, don't have a whole lot of great use cases out there in the blockchain space. What do you think are some of the positive industry trends that are coming out of this?
Well, during the last bear markets, one of the lines that I like to use is that bull markets produce bullshit, forgive my language, and bear markets bear fruit. In these bear markets, in these difficult times, we get to work. We start to do the great work. We start to get our work done. And so great things happen, when we're basically behind our desks, at home, not distracted, is, our productivity, to the extent that we're at home making art, building software, doing whatever it is that we're doing. As long as you can stay productive during these times, you're likely going to produce great things. And so I would encourage everyone to take advantage of this incredible opportunity to have a little solitude. If you're not practicing your meditation, start to make that a daily practice right now. If you have always had dreams to pick up an instrument and play some music, what a great time to learn. Or if you just need some R&R, now is a great time to play some games, to catch up on those television shows, and understanding that, we're all connected. We are all one. And the objective right now is to find unity, to build bridges, not burn bridges. We're living during a time where there's great polarization happening. The great separation, the great deception is successfully separating us, when the reality is we're all one.
Exactly. I completely agree with you on that. You know,
and even with people, if they're a Trump supporter or a Bernie or this or that, if someone disagrees with you, what you can do is take the time to listen to them. Not ridicule them, not fight with them, understand that we all have different perspectives because we come from different places and we've had different life experiences, and to have compassion, to have patience, and to understand everyone in their time, and to give them the space to grow, and to be compassionate and operate from a place of love. And this is how we combat this polarization that's happening in the world, is by remembering that I am you and you are me, and that we are all one, and that we are united.
That is very true, and that's not, by the way, where I'm pushing this concept of globalism and corona and this conspiracy or so. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm just looking at the facts that make this particular event come at a time where definitely we've already had unbacked bull market for the last 10 years generally in the world, right? And the coronavirus exposed, I think, the major holes in the economy, world economy. And of course,
this boom has been driven by the printing of cheap money.
Right.
It's artificial growth. And so, what is the word coronavirus, right? What is corona? What does corona mean? It's the crown, right? And so the common cold is also known as a coronavirus. It's a head cold, right? It's the crown. Mm-hmm. And so, just interesting to think about these things. By the way, I saw you're wearing a necklace earlier. I see that we're matching today.
Yes, it's the one. It's the Metatron.
With our, actually, I'm wearing two. I've got another one here.
Oh, wow. Wait, is that Boris's? Oh no, is that watch?
No, this is from Nevada City. This is Birch's with a seat of life on the back, and this is made of organite.
Wow. That is beautiful. That is a beautiful Metatron right there.
The one you're wearing was a gift from me. This one was a gift from someone else. I'm doubled up and obviously wearing a rainbow lightning bolt.
I wanted to finish with your prospect on Bitcoin and how it has performed during this crisis, which I think was very good compared to everything else. At the end of this week, Bitcoin is up 20 to 30%, depending on how you look at it, while the S&P 500 is still down 22%. So overall, it seems like the Bitcoin airplane has guided through the falling skyscrapers, if you use that analogy, and is still flying high.
Well, so how has Bitcoin fared through this global pandemic and the economic crisis that it's causing? Bitcoin, along with gold and everything else, has not performed very well. It didn't go up anyway as a result of this, as some of us may have thought, as global as the financial system is under great pressure from major financial global turmoil. Some people might have thought that Bitcoin would have gone up. Some people would have thought gold bugs might have thought that gold would go up. And the reality is everything has come down. What have I learned from that? What do I think that means? I think it means a couple of things. One, well, it's all assets are being impacted, which means that generally there's a flight to dollars. Right now, during major crisis, cash is still king, and that people are trying to get their hands on cash. And that's the first thing that people are trying to do. And that, I think, means that Bitcoin is still not mature. It means that adoption of Bitcoin is not prevalent enough yet that it is a currency. And I think we can all agree that, Bitcoin really isn't a currency yet or a medium of exchange. It has the potential to be, or at least a crypto does, or multiple cryptos. And the main thing that I view Bitcoin as today is at least as a store of value. And I think today it's really only a partial store of value. It's principally a speculative instrument. It's an investment mechanism to hedge against the global markets. And to some degree, it's a partial store of value today. And I think the market has responded in line with, call it, that assessment. And that can change as adoption changes. The more people that have Bitcoin, the more people that are using Bitcoin, the more people that are viewing it as a store of value, treating it like gold, I think the better it will perform as that type of asset class. And different or better than gold is the fact that it has the potential really to be used as a medium of exchange.
People
or
say
to be
it's a
used
safe haven during this. People still believe that this is going to be, BTC is going to be the safe haven during this whole debacle.
I mean, I clearly partially believe that statement. I'm clearly a Bitcoin holder and a big supporter of the ecosystem, but I also try to be a realist and say, where are we at in the process? I try not to drink the Kool-Aid to a point where I become blind to the reality of the present moment. And the present moment is we still have a long ways to come, a long ways to go. We are still somewhat early in the development of this system, but the system is, it's performing, it's working. It's getting there, and we just have to make it very easy for people to use. And as part of this, call it, what year is it? It's the year 2020. As I like to say, we've entered the visionary 20s, and I believe that this event is helping to trigger the mass awakening and the awareness of humanity as a whole. And as we become more aware, our awareness may bring us to systems like Bitcoin, and that awareness might further drive adoption of systems like Bitcoin, as long as we, the entrepreneurs and the builders, build the systems to make it easy for everyone to use.
It's definitely making us appreciate the luxury that we've been living in prior to this whole thing, right? Able to travel, see other people, see other countries, places, experience, right? It quickly showed humans how important it is to be humane. And now I do hope that we do not get to the point where people will start, marauding or robbing because of the shortages that can come with the current sort of closures of supply chains and whatnot. So I really hope that people can come together, and I completely echo your statements. Come together as one, support one another, help one another through this. This is a time to really, truly love one another, not be at odds, not be at any sort of negativity. There's enough of that right now, unfortunately.
Well, on that note, again, I'm based here in Puerto Rico, and so as a call to action for those that are watching, we're going to be live at integrofoundation.org, integrofoundation.org. Integro in Spanish means integration, as well as integrity. That is the name of our foundation here in Puerto Rico, and our idea is to integrate with integrity. And the biggest concern that I have here in the short term is people have not been able to work, people in the service industry for the last week, and people are going to be running out of money. And as they run out of money, they're going to have a hard time getting food. And so if you have resources, cryptocurrency, etc., whatever you can spare, we are going to be feeding people in the areas of Puerto Rico that are most impacted. And so I believe that charity, like most systems, I don't want to use the word broken, but there's great room for improvement. So one of the things that we are doing at Integro is every dollar you give, 100 cents on the dollar goes to the underlying cause of what you designate, or if you give it to us, we give it to those things. If you give it to us blindly, we designate it to things. But 100 cents on the dollar, we don't even charge you payment processing fees. Brock Pierce, myself personally, I cover 100% of the administrative costs. I cover all payment processing fees and everything else, so that when you give a dollar goes to the cause. And so we believe in great efficiency, and to the extent possible, as a conscious capitalist, I believe that, if I give a dollar and a dollar goes to a cause, that's still not very good. I want to see a dollar create $2 of impact or $5 in impact. So we're all about financial efficiency, and we also believe in financial transparency. And so to the extent that you have spare resources to share, and if you are interested and willing to help those of us here in Puerto Rico that are going to be helping to feed the people, please check in at integrofoundation.org and help us help people in need if you are blessed with the abundance to do so.
Please do that, Brock. That is a great cause. Thank you so much. The future is now digest. Brock Pierce, Brother Brock, let the Gaia cleanse itself, let the people come together, and let's make the best of this. See you on the next. The future is now. The future is what you make of it. I'm Miguel Francis-Santiago.
Aho.